want this to remain green space. But more importantly, we want to maintain a process in our community where all of our voices can be heard, where it's not any kind of top-down orders coming from whatever the city council and their consultants have decided is the best plan for us. This is our property as citizens of Brookhaven, and we should be the one to determine what happens to it. So I urge you all, please educate yourself on the Redevelopment Powers Law. You can go to www.brookhavenreferendum.org for some more information. There should be flyers on your seat and available. And keep in mind that if this passes, we can guarantee that we will have more problems like this. More problems where the will of the people is not respected, and we find ourselves with top-down development rather than having a voice in our own future. The green space doesn't need development. It needs the will of the people to come out and say what we want to do with it. So I ask you to vote no on the Redevelopment Powers Law in November for this green space and for every other part of Brookhaven that we need to develop as a community, not by top down. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, now that we all know what a TAD is, I'd like to talk to you just a tiny bit about the history. I'm not going to go through the full history that I have prepared, but for those people that lived in Brookhaven and in this area near Dresden, we used to call this area red dirt, and that's where kids used to play. And they've been playing over there since like 1949. They used to play in the woods, and I think that many people had their first home in this area, the little 1,000-square-foot homes with the 2 bedrooms and the 1 bath. This is something that we'd really like to see kept, is places for the kids to play in the woods. It's gotten to the point now where there isn't any place to play in the woods. Next on our agenda is Eddie Eller, who's going to speak on the environmental impacts of green space. Eddie?
Evening, everybody. I'm Eddie Eller. I live at the corner of Duke and Duncan in Brookhaven. I moved to this neighborhood from Beaufort, Georgia in 1977 because I like the normal folks and the old growth trees that used to be everywhere around us. I want to speak to you this evening about some of those trees, some that might be our most important to everyone living west of Clairmont. Here we're referring to it as green space, but I want to call it what it is, an eastern deciduous climax overgrowth forest. The area under discussion is what a forest is supposed to be. It's an interleaving of many native plants over the headwaters of 2 streams, including a certified wetland, and providing habitat for the many native animals that have been essentially undisturbed for a few generations. This area has gone undisturbed since the turn of the 20th century, and some of the trees within the boundaries have been standing since before the Civil War. It takes a very long time for a forest area to achieve the natural balance that is present in the Ashford Park Old Growth Forest. And it is among the last parcels in North DeKalb County to have managed to avoid rapacious development, the last of its kind just by being left alone. Yet while being left alone, this forest has been working hard to provide free services to all of us. It shadows the noise of aircraft as they pass from one end of the runway to the other. Take a look at the valley that falls away from the forest and think of what the noise contour would be like if it was gone. It would be an unobstructed line to every residence downhill on the Clairmont. But noise isn't the only thing it reduces. By standing still and doing what trees do every day, it reduces emissions of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, volatile organic compounds, and oxides of nitrogen. And Eastern DeKalb Airport is the second largest point source of those emissions in the entire state, second only to Hartsfield. Unfortunately, forests take land. The natural order of things on planet Earth is to allow trees the land they need to thrive. When they thrive, they provide those services for free. Land draws other interests as well. For reasons that take too long to explain, some are troubled by undisturbed land doing what nature requires. We live in an area that is stricken by the inadequacy of lots, streets, and houses, and all the amenities required. That must be the case despite the highest density of occupation in my lifetime, or there wouldn't be a blind rush to mow down the forest and build more. This all rests on an invented concept of highest and best use. In the perennial interplay between government and developers, highest and best use has come to mean the most money I can make off of this piece of land, no matter who is harmed. Luckily, government does not require some consideration of who is harmed. Who is harmed is all of us. The simple fact is that even if every square foot of this property is sold for the highest price it can ever generate, it will not provide enough revenue to replace the services that the forest is already providing. The money cannot build a mechanical device to remediate the noise, the emissions, the storm runoff treatment that the forest goes about every day while just swaying in the breeze. There isn't a technology available to attend to the task, and if it were available, the cost would dwarf the budget of the city of Brookhaven. It's unfortunate that we even have to have this discussion. Before the Base Realignment and Closure Commission, the federal government would have automatically required an environmental assessment to determine the appropriate use for such a parcel. When the FAA found itself with thousands of square miles of decommissioned aviation facilities, the need to quicken the process of unloading properties required some simplification. The Ashford Park Old Growth Forest, unfortunately, gets folded into this simplification process. An assessment can still be requested, but it's no longer a requirement. Nor is it in any way a requirement that the property be confiscated by the city from you to be consumed by developers. This is now and has been for generations public property. Despite oversight by the FAA, it has always belonged to the DeKalb County citizens. No law requires anything about that ownership to change. This vestige of life before Georgians arrived will not slip away unless we sit back and let it happen. Think back to when I was a kid in Gwinnett County and first came to Fernbank Forest and thought, wow, it's odd that you have to protect a place that's simply the woods, that's the trees the way that they're supposed to be. Because where I grew up, there were plenty of forests. But now we have a spot that's been undisturbed for longer than Fernbank Forest, that's larger, and in a better natural balance. And it provides the last refuge in our area for school children to visit and see just how nature is supposed to function. So despite the rapacious tentacles of the developer class and the hungry outreach of the municipal government seeking unearned revenue, the facts don't change. It should be obvious to anyone viewing this objectively that the Ashford Park Old Growth Forest is already at its highest and best use and doing what only a climax forest can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. I'm going to move forward now with Lisa Bartlett. She's going to talk why Greenspace is important. Lisa?
Hi, thanks you guys for coming out. I've lived in Champlain for close to 30 years. I'm a horticulturist and a garden designer. Do you know when the best time to plant a tree is? 25 years ago. That's how long it takes a tree to reach a fraction of its potential. Many of the trees in this forest are well over that, many dating back to the pre-Civil War. And while I've never had the pleasure of seeing the Don Redwood Forest in California, I like knowing they exist. Even if you never set foot in this forest, isn't it nice to know that your city has this little bit of wildness still left in it? The plant and animal life are far more diverse than you might imagine. The habitat is a haven of all manner of birds, from the great horned owl, who needs the larger trees to nest in, to the pileated woodpecker, which is a giant bird, to the Cooper's hawk that has evolved to live in the forest. salamander, eastern turtles that are rare, and America's only marsupial, the opossum. Yes, there are raccoons and coyotes. But I'm more worried about man. I'm afraid of man most of all of these animals. Man is a far greater threat than any of these much maligned animals are to us. And as far as the plant life, there are jackal pulpits, a really interesting and rare plant. There are trilliums that are so beautiful in and out of flower. And native gingers and ferns and native azaleas that are as big as dogwoods. There's even the big-leafed magnolia, a really prehistoric-looking tree. You just don't find this kind of diversity in the city anymore. Why? Because we're destroying every shred of habitat left to them. We condemn third-world countries for destroying their forests. If we allow this habitat to be bulldozed for housing development or anything else, that would make us no better. Wild areas shouldn't be a luxury, but a necessity. Let's be honest, if trees give off Wi-Fi, we'd all be planting them. Isn't it a shame they only give off oxygen? And did I mention a walk in the woods is cheaper than therapy? Our city councilman should try it sometime. Only when the last tree has been felled and the last river has been poisoned and the last fish has been caught, but we realize we can't eat money. We need to take care of the land because let's face it, one day we're all going to be a part of it. There was a famous environmentalist by the name of the Lorax that was once asked, which way does a tree fall? His reply, it falls the way it leans. Be careful which way you lean, people.
Mix our agenda up a little bit, and at this point, I'd like to call our Mayor of Brookhaven, J. Max Davis, to make a statement, if you wish. Got about 5 minutes in here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for having this gathering. Yates is in Miss Kidd. This is the kind of thing I love about Brookhaven. People come speak their mind. Nobody's going to jump on you. Maybe they'll jump on me. But I just wanted to say, I've known about this area for all my life. I'm a Brookhaven native. Went to Shannon High School and grew up on West Nancy Creek. And I grew up on West Nancy Creek with about 30 acres behind me, similar to the size of this, where I was able to roam as a child. And I think this piece of property is very valuable. And if this property gets transferred to the city of Brookhaven, unfettered, free of charge, as passive green space, I see no reason whatsoever for us to do anything other than keep it the way it is. And I just hope that can be a reality. And it's going to take some work with the county, I know. But I'd like to hear from you all a little bit later if there are any other ideas or plans, or if that's a reality. I know you were saying this kid about being, our grandparents, my mom and dad paid for this, we all did. I hope that, I know Commissioner Rader has spoken about the unspent bond money that we have for this area. He's mentioned trying to get that for Brookhaven. Maybe we can do some kind of deal there. But the city has no plans for this property because we don't own the property. And if we get this property without any stipulations, free of charge, maybe we can even pay something for it. I know we can't pay the market rate, but I think it'd be a big mistake to do anything other than keep it as it is and make it an asset like you talked about maybe for school children. I think that's a great, I've got a 10, 5, and 8-year-old myself. I would like to just take exception to one thing that was said tonight. This redevelopment powers referendum, I'm not really hot about redevelopment powers either way. It's not something that I was insisting on. But I don't see a connection. I know they're not meant to do anything with what Ms. Bernard had said earlier. There was a little bit of misinformation there. You can go to brookhavencitylimits.com. That's brookhavencitylimits.com to see a presentation by a redevelopment lawyer who presented on what tags can do. But nobody's ever mentioned to me about anything about having condemnation powers as part of our seizing property or raising taxes when it comes to redevelopment power. So I just want to make sure that seems like a red herring to me. I don't know why there's a connection between this property and tax. You make up your own mind about what the redevelopment powers law is. But again, I want to thank you all for having us. This is a just came, I'm dressed this way tonight because I just came from a walk in Ashland Park with 10 citizens and I. Walked and they discussed issues about on Caldwell Road, Dresden all around Green Meadows, and it's a great thing that I've been doing because I really get to see people on their terms and they can address concerns they have. And I'd love to come walk this green space, like Ms. Kidd had said earlier, and hear and see some of the things that you have in the pictures. That's very interesting. I'd like to bring my kids along as well. So I'll be doing these community walks for, it's good for me to get me in shape, and it's good for you all to get engaged with your elected officials. I'd love to come to your neighborhood or come to this area and walk with you. So check if your neighborhood has a Facebook page, let me know, and I'll try and say where I'll be, and y'all can kind of plug me, let me know where you want me to come walk. And I appreciate again all of you coming out. I'll be here afterwards if you have any questions for me. But again, I appreciate what y'all are doing, bringing this light to this very important issue. And I hope this does stay the way it has for 1,000 years. So it's a great thing you're trying to promote.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. Next on our agenda, we have an opportunity for our neighbors to make remarks. And we're going to take this opportunity for the folks that are candidates for our city council. We're going to allow them to speak to us, and we're going to hold you guys down to 3 minutes each. And the first on my list here, how many council candidates do we have? 3? Okay. In alphabetical order, please approach the podium. We're going to do 3 minutes each.
Hey, good evening. My name is Charles Berry. I'm running for City Council District 2. I'm very impressed with the turnout here tonight and the passion that I'm seeing from everybody about the green space. I went out there walking yesterday and it is beautiful. I kind of got lost for a little bit. I might need an actual tour guide because I didn't even know where I came out the wrong end, had to go back in. It was a little bit of a mess, but I really do appreciate the passion when it comes to the green space. And I think presenting the issue of how to keep it, I think we've got to kind of understand what the procedures to follow are. From what I'm hearing, it seems that we own the land. It's been paid for. If it's paid for, then there should be a market price. That's news to me. I didn't know that. I learned that today. That's why I came. I want to be educated about that. But so we've got to understand how do we go about doing this? And I mean, that's probably the next order of business. I don't know the answers to those questions, but thank you guys for inviting me. Have a nice night. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Tim Nama. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I took a tour of this green space with Mr. Yates and Mr. Murray a few weeks back, and it was great getting to walk through there and see the old growth forest like Eddie talked about tonight. This is an asset that needs to be preserved for everyone. We're going to have to work within the parameters that we have in order to save it, but I think that Mr. Rader gave us he gave us some great insight into some different ways that we could possibly save that. If we do have to pay highest and best market rate for the property, he mentioned that there was a possibility that DeKalb could use federal green space money to take transfer of the property from someone other than DeKalb. Well, if you get an appraisal on the property for $3 million, let the city of Brookhaven buy the property for 10 days and have DeKalb County use federal green space money to buy it back. Then we're using federal green space money to save the property, and it didn't come out of anybody's pocket. It's already there. There's a reasonable solution that we can find for this, and there's enough people in this room that have enough passion about it that we can all come up with that together. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is John Park. I live on 2997 Skyler Drive Northeast. That was my city citizen speech, not my candidate speech. 10, great idea. There are a lot of great ideas out there. I outlined them in my open letter to the city and to the county. One thing I do want to stress is that whatever decision that we make, whatever approach that we take, is an approach that has complete community involvement and is completely transparent. Because it is community land that belongs to all of us. And I want to stress that it should have community involvement. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all three of our candidates. Remember what they said when you vote. Next on our agenda, we're taking names where people filled out cards to make comment. Lisa, we're going to go on a microphone around. The first name that I have here is Michael Lennon. And Michael, if you take the mic, and I believe we're going to increase the 1 minute because we've been so efficient and everybody's been so well behaved that I will increase it to 3 minutes. So.
I only need a minute. My name is Mike Lennon. I'm on 1802 Toby Road. I order the property that's in question. Like Deborah, I had nominated that property as Greenspace back in 2003 and was politely told by the county that they wouldn't even consider it since it was airport property. But I did find out that when looking at properties for Greenspace, they had 9 criteria. And if you met enough of the criteria, you were categorized higher. This property is category 1 as highly desirable because it met 8 of the 9 criteria fully, and the 9th criteria it met partially. So it would have been a perfect green space candidate had it not been airport property. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. The next card that was filled out was from Matt Bell. Matt, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Up here, please.
My only suggestion, and I live across the street, I live on Skyline Drive, was if we wanted to have a little bit more community involvement in here in a way of kind of maintaining the land a little bit, was to consider putting in a disc golf course. It's an idea. It would keep the land still very forested, and there's enough land there to make a nice one, and it would get a lot of people coming through there. So that was my primary suggestion. Here.
Matt, bring the frisbee. I'll show you how to lay it out. Okay, next on the list